One is a career backup, and the other one is a surefire Hall of Famer. So the decision as to who should be the Panthers' starting goalie this season seems pretty obvious, right? Well, it is. It just might not be the guy you're thinking of. According to last season's data, James Reimer, not Roberto Luongo, should be the guy to start the season in Florida, and I'll explain why. So we break it down here. Both goalies actually finished with an identical amount of starts last season. Roberto Luongo had 39 starts and was a clear-cut starter, but in early March he had a season-ending injury. Reimer had 24 starts up to that point, but he ended up playing out the season and they finish equal. When you look at the minutes that they played, actually almost identical. So this gives us a really good idea of how these guys fared based on the fact that they basically played the exact same amount of time. So from here, we look at the fact that James Reimer, even though they played about the same minutes, played way more shorthanded than Luongo, about 30 minutes more. So he was facing some tougher game situations in equal minutes played. Now, despite the fact that Reimer played those more difficult minutes, he actually finished with a better save percentage, coming in at .920, which was good for 13th in the league. Luongo was at .914, which ranked 25th. Now, I doubt that's enough to convince you that Reimer should be the go-to guy for the Panthers, so we'll keep going. Let's take a look at shot quality. Even strength, slot save percentage. So this is the save percentage from that high danger area, stopping quality shots. Reimer, .860, which ranked 14th in the NHL. Luongo struggled from here. He had an .821 save percentage, which ranked 44th. What about the inner slot? This area on the ice where nearly half of all goals were scored in the NHL last season. Important to make saves from here for that reason alone, but even more so in Florida, as they gave up the third most shots from this inner slot area.
That save in itself has kept the Florida Panthers in this hockey game.
Reimer stopped nearly 84% of shots from this area, good for 6th in the NHL. Luongo way down the list at 40th, stopping just over 77%. Still not convinced? What if I told you the difference between Luongo starting and Reimer starting was 18 even strength goals being allowed? We know this thanks to our expected versus actual goals against model, or EVA rating for short. What this measures using factors like shot location, quality, type, and goaltender movement is the likelihood of every shot a goalie faces going in. From there, we can determine how many goals a goalie saved or cost his team relative to league average. What you want is a negative number, which indicates you saved your team more than you cost them. James Reimer's expected versus actual goals against, minus 0.15, which means that he saved his team about one even strength goal every 6 or 7 games. Now, I know it doesn't sound like much, but it was actually the 9th best in the NHL. And when you compare that to Roberto Luongo, who cost his team 0.30 goals per game, which ranked 32nd in the NHL, that's a big difference. That's a difference, like I said, of about 18 even strength goals over the course of their 39 starts. So a pretty significant indicator. And if you're still not convinced, the only thing I can think left is that maybe you think Reimer played a bit easier competition being the backup goalie. But when you look at the starts that these guys made, the opponent's average points, teams that Reimer faced, 94, teams that Luongo faced, 87. So all of this tells me that James Reimer definitely put in a better year than Roberto Luongo last year. I love Luongo. He's a funny guy. He's a Hall of Fame goalie, but he's 38 years old. And if last season's any indication, they probably shouldn't wait long in Florida to hand the reins over to Reimer if Luongo continues to struggle this year.